Ever had your doula 300,000 combined towed right in the thick of harvest season because some HOA busybody thought it was an eyesore? Yeah, that happened to me. The kicker? She had no clue the land wasn't even under her control, it was state leased, and I'm the one leasing it. So when she had my tractor hauled off, she didn't just mess with a farmer, she poked a federal operation. Let's back up a bit, though, to where this all kicked off, somewhere between my cornrows and her high and mighty attitude. I've lived on the edge of this tidy little HOA suburb for nearly 10 years. My property butts up against their community, and for the most part, we've left each other alone. I farm my fields, they grill burgers and swap gossip. It was peaceful, at least it was, until Linda got herself elected HOA president. Once she tasted that power, it was like handing a kid a loaded squirt gun. She started aiming it everywhere, just to see what she could hit. It started small. Complaints about my roosters crowing too loud. Then my grain silos being a VY Sewell blight. But the real trouble brewed during harvest. That year, I was working my Northfield 160 acres of state lease cropland that curves around the HOA's backyards like a horseshoe. That field isn't just mine, it's tied to a contract with the state agricultural department for strategic food production. Harvest time means no delays, no excuses. I was out there at dawn, running my combine, Johnny Cash blasting through the cracked cabin windows, thinking maybe this year Linda would let it slide. Spoiler, she didn't. By day 2, there she was at the property line, arms crossed, clipboard in hand, looking like she was about to storm a castle. I pulled over, stepped out, and gave her a wave. She didn't wave back. Instead, she yelled across the hedge that I was violating communal peace standards, and my equipment was causing a disruptive VY Sewell experience. Visual experience? I nearly spat out my coffee. I reminded her again that the land wasn't HOA turf. It was state lease farmland under county and federal rules. She snapped back, "It's in our VY Sewell domain," like that was some kind of legal trump card. "It's a tractor, Linda, not a dump truck," I said, trying to lighten the mood. She didn't crack a smile. That night, I locked up the combine and headed home, figuring she just ran to her board or print another snarky flyer. I even laughed about it with my neighbor Tom, who lives just inside the HOA and secretly despises every meeting he's ever attended. But the next morning, my tractor was gone. Not moved, not block gone. The gravel spot where I parked it was empty, with tire tracks leading out to the SARE-VYC road. At first, I thought the state might have taken it for inspection, but they'd have called. No missed calls. Then I saw it, a note taped to the barn. Towed. Abandoned machinery. Reported by HOA safety oversight. I laughed, thinking it was a joke until it sank in. Linda, the queen of petty, had actually set some tow outfit to haul off a 12-ton combine during a state harvest window. I stood there dumbfounded, trying to wrap my head around her audacity. Then I grinned. See, Linda didn't just mess with my gear, that tractor was part of an active state AG operation. Towing it wasn't just a hassle, it was a federal offense. Tampering with state-leased harvest equipment triggers a full investigation. By noon, I had a state inspector, a sheriff's deputy, and a transportation officer on site. Linda strutted over in her bright yellow jacket, looking like she was leading a VY Tory march. She had no idea the guy with the clipboard wasn't there for me, he was there for her. "Ma'am, can you explain why you had a third-party tow SARE-VYC remove state-contracted equipment from active AG land?" the inspector asked. Linda blinked, then puffed up. "It was parked near our community line. We deemed it a nuisance. It was in VY Sewell range." The inspector smirked. "Visual range isn't legal jurisdiction. You're aware this land is leased to the state AG authority and protected during operational windows." Her face went blank. "What?" "Yeah," I chimed in, "I lease all 160 acres around your neighborhood. 6 years running." Linda's mouth opened, then shut. Her cheeks turned red, then purple, then some shade I can't even name. She just realized she hadn't made a petty power play, committed a felony. She stammered, backtracking about miscommunications and board approvals, but the inspector was already filing his report. The tow company would be fined, Linda might owe retrieval costs, and the whole mess was headed to the state attorney's office. She'd stepped way out of her cul-de-sac kingdom and onto a battlefield she didn't understand. I didn't have to do a thing, the state took over. But that was just the start. 2 days later, I was checking irrigation when 2 white SUVs rolled up the SARE-VYC path. One had a state seal, the other had government plates. Out stepped the same AG officer plus a new guy all suited, carrying a briefcase that screamed trouble. They flashed badges. The new guy was from the state's Department of Infrastructure Integrity. Turns out, when you lease farmland to the state under emergency preparedness clauses, your equipment gets classified as essential agricultural infrastructure. Linda's tow job wasn't just interference, it was a potential supply chain disruption. They handed me a folder. Incident reports, property surveys, and best of all a copy of an email Linda sent to the whole HOA. She bragged about protecting the neighborhood from unsightly machinery, complete with a photo of the tractor being towed like it was her trophy. Where'd you get this? I asked, already guessing. Anonymous tip from an HOA member, the agent said with a smirk. We've got 7 so far. Linda was burning bridges faster than I could harvest corn, and now the state had her own words as EVI Denke. We walked the field boundary, took photos, and confirmed the tractor was 74 feet from the HOA line, well within state territory. Then Linda showed up, storming down the path in that yellow jacket, arms wavooing like a frantic traffic cop. She froze when she saw the badges. What's going on? She barked. The agent flashed his ID. Investigating interference with state AG operations. You must be Linda. President Linda, HA President, she corrected. He didn't flinch. Great. Be careful what you say next. She let out a sharp laugh like she thought he was kidding. You're overreacting. It's a tractor. We had every right. He handed her the email she'd sent. Her face cycled through shock, denial, and panic. That was a private memo, she yelped. Sent to 60 households and forwarded to us, he replied coolly. Very admissible. She whirled on me, finger jabbing. This is your fault. You baited us. I shrugged. On my land during state ops? Yeah, real sneaky. The suited agent stepped in. Miss Linda, you're now under a Level 2 investigation under the Agricultural Infrastructure Protection Act. Fines, liability, maybe charges depending on what we find. Her clipboard hit the gravel with a sad clatter. We'll be in touch, the agent said as they left. Linda stood there fuming while I went back to my irrigation. Later, the AG department called. The combine's dash cam, which I'd forgotten about, caught Linda directing the tow, posing for pics, and saying, "This'll show him who runs this neighborhood." I laughed so hard I had to sit down. The footage sealed her fate. Plus, the tow company she used? An unlicensed repo crew with no permits for heavy equipment. Now she faced heat for an illegal recovery too. The next day, the sheriff cited her and the HOA board started unraveling. Residents apologized at my gate. One even brought pie. Linda stopped levying her house, her yellow jacket vanished, and her husband took over dog walking duty. The board scrubbed her name from the bulletin. But I knew she'd try one last swing. I was ready with an ace she hadn't seen yet. Sure enough, Linda doubled down. 3 days after the citation, I got a certified letter from her lawyer, accusing me of emotional distress and visual degradation for parking my tractor provocatively. She demanded I stop farming within 500 feet of the HOA, citing a fake community peace ordinance. I laughed and handed it to the AG officer. He called it legal Mad Libs and looped in the state's legal team. Within 36 hours, Linda got a cease and desist warning her off further interference. Her lawsuit hit the courthouse and flopped spectacularly. The judge, who I'd worked with on land use reforms years back, knew my creds, certified land strategist, zoning expert. He tossed the case and told Linda to get a real lawyer. Her attorney quit on the spot. Then the HOA turned on her. She'd misused fund paying tow fees from the emergency stash, building an illegal privacy wall. The board ousted her in an emergency meeting. I heard shouts of embezzlement from my workshop. But Linda kept plotting. I spotted her pacing the property line, phone in hand, gesturing at my cornfield like a general. Time to play my trump card. I'd quietly bought the HOA's access road tractorway when its easement expired. I hadn't renewed their rights. So I renamed it officially, installed a sign, and watched as every HOA address updated to Tractorway. Linda's deliveries, bills, everything's tamped with the name she hated. She tried fighting it but lost. Her final stunt? A fall harmony festival to reclaim her glory. It was set on the HOA green, accessible only via my road. I filed a use notice, restricted access for harvest ops. Vendors needed permits I couldn't approve in time. Her festival flopped empty tents, no food trucks. Meanwhile, I hosted a public harvest day, music, kettle corn, tractor demos. HOA folks ditched her event for mine. Linda stormed over, but a trespass notice stopped her cold. She left in defeat. Weeks later, she tried claiming Tractorway as public land. Too late. Tide gated it with a keypad system. Residents signed the access terms. Linda refused and took a 20-minute detour daily. I added a tractor-shaped mailbox at the gate. She fought that too, then quietly sold her house at a loss and moved to a condo across town. The HOA threw me a potluck with a tractor cake. Linda was gone, and all it took was patience, a road, and the truth.